All right, welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something pretty interesting today, a story about Donald Trump and presidential pardons. It all went down on Super Bowl Sunday, so buckle up.
Super Bowl Sunday, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, so we're looking at this article from Mediaite called, and get this, Trump confronted on Air Force One for pardoning people who assaulted first responders. Why did you do that?
Oh, wow, that's quite a title.
Right. So the article basically shows this stark contrast. Trump's in New Orleans honoring first responders for Super Bowl LIX, but on that same day, he's getting grilled about pardoning people who attacked first responders.
That's pretty wild, gotta say. So let's break this down. What exactly was Trump doing on this Super Bowl Sunday?
Well, like you said, he was in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. He did a pregame interview with Fox News, actually attended the game, which, by the way, was the first for a sitting president.
Yeah.
And then he met with first responders and the families of those affected by that attack that happened in New Orleans on New Year's Day.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, it was awful. Anyway, there's even a photo of Trump with the first responders giving a thumbs up. It's very presidential, right?
Oh, the optics of it all. So then, how does this confrontation on Air Force One come into play?
So after all the Super Bowl stuff, Trump's on Air Force One heading out, and a reporter straight up asks him about those pardons. Specifically, the reporter asks about the individuals convicted for their role in the January 6th riot at the Capitol. Like, point blank, why'd you pardon people who attacked first responders on January 6th?
Whoa, going right for the jugular there. And for anyone who may not remember all the details, what exactly happened on January 6th? Can you remind us?
Oh, right, of course. So January 6th was when a mob of Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol building. It happened while the 2020 election results were being certified. It was just chaos. Violence directed at law enforcement, people trying to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power. It was a really dark day, honestly.
Yeah, I'd say so. One of those moments where you just can't believe what you're seeing. Okay, so back to Trump on Air Force One. How does he respond to this pretty pointed question about the pardons?
His response, well, he flat out denies that the rioters attacked anyone. Claims they were actually the ones assaulted, by the government no less.
Hold on, so he's saying the people who stormed the Capitol, broke in, and, caused all that mayhem, they were the victims.
That's what he's saying. And get this, he goes on to call the pardons, quote, a great thing for humanity, end quote.
Wow. A great thing for humanity. That's quite a statement, especially when you consider what we just talked about, the violence and everything that happened that day. I'm curious about these pardons. Can you give us a little more context on presidential pardons in general? Like, what are they and what makes them such a big deal?
Yeah, so presidential pardons are basically a get-out-of-jail-free card for federal crimes. The president has the power to completely wipe someone's slate clean. It's a huge power, and it's been used for a lot of different reasons throughout history. Sometimes it's about showing mercy. Sometimes it's about correcting what people see as wrongful convictions.
Yeah, you think about some famous cases, President Ford pardoning Nixon, for example. That one caused a huge uproar. And of course, it can be used to address bigger societal issues too. But yeah, it's definitely a controversial power.
So knowing all that, what do you think about Trump's reasoning for these pardons? I mean, he's basically saying these rioters were victims, which kind of goes against what a lot of people believe.
Yeah, and that's what makes this so fascinating, right? He's trying to shift the narrative. And it makes you wonder how much of this decision was based on, like, genuine belief in their innocence versus political strategy. I mean, is he appealing to a certain group? Or does he really think they were wronged? It's tough to say.
Yeah, and then you add in the fact that he's saying all this while honoring first responders. It seems kind of contradictory, right?
Absolutely. Like, on the one hand, you see him doing the whole Super Bowl thing, taking photos with first responders, giving interviews, looking very presidential. But then on the other hand, he's defending these pardons, which seem to go against the very idea of honoring those who protect us.
Exactly. It's like two completely different stories happening at the same time. And it raises so many questions, like what actually motivates these big decisions? What's the line between personal belief and politics?
It's really hard to say, but this whole situation definitely shines a light on the power of the presidency and how that power can be used. It also shows how important it is for us to, think critically about the information we're getting. How do we interpret these events? And how do we make sense of actions that seem to contradict each other?
Yeah, it's about making up your own mind. And that leads us to the question we want to leave you with today. Given what we know about presidential pardons, do you think there should be more rules in place to prevent them from being misused? It's a tough question. There are no easy answers, but it's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Absolutely. Lots to ponder, for sure.